Called an entrance.
Okay, hello, everybody out there. Welcome to the regular meeting of council for Wednesday, April 26th. The time is 4:30 p.m. I will call this meeting to order and ask if any councilors have a declaration of conflict. Seeing none. Any additions or changes to the agenda? No, may I have a motion to move the agenda, please? Councillor Inkster and Toth, all in favor? Agenda is adopted. Business items. 3.1, Mayor's reconsideration for the active transportation network decision. We've received additional information from staff. How does council wish to proceed? Do we have questions, comments? Mayor Henderson, sorry, he beat you, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to offer to council, I take the responsibility of mayor very seriously, and the issue of reconsideration is one of the few things that the mayor has, frankly, the burden of being responsible for. I decided to bring this back for reconsideration for the reasons, some of which are summarized in the report on page 4. I think the key thing is that I think we need to assess carefully that we are spending the monies that we have prudently and carefully. I think that over the course of the last several days since this was put back for consideration, we've seen a lot of effort on the part of staff to find other ways of delivering what we all want. I mean, I certainly want this to be built. I admit to having some continuing concerns about the lowest part of Mason Road, just up from the highway. It's going to be a very expensive part, but my main concern is that we are carefully assessing and having the time as council to assess how we pay for it. I think the other thing, and before I leave it to everyone to weigh in, is an ongoing concern. And of course, we don't have any jurisdiction over the worst part of this whole thing that we've learned, and that is that school kids have to cross the highway from West Sechelt Elementary down Mason, cross the highway to get to the beach for some of their real life learning classes. And crossing the highway there without any sort of crosswalk or security safety systems, it's a frightening scenario. I don't know how the teachers manage with a group of elementary school kids. So that's something separate from our deliberations, but I think it's we need to work together to as a community to advocate to Modi to put something in place, because by building this whole system, we will be encouraging people to use both the full infrastructure, but also cross the highway at what is a particularly difficult or dangerous location. So I take the reconsideration matter seriously. I commend staff for their work. I note that we, as late as this morning, I think we have the latest proposal from staff, and it's one that I'm prepared to support. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Inkster.
Thank you. The information that was been presented to us by staff over the last number of days in reference to this issue has been good information. The last piece of information that was presented to us by staff was something that I saw and thought I could support. My concerns with the original proposal was not the proposal to do safety works within our community for our community members and our children, but where that money would come from. The proposal that's come forward has a different route for where that money should come from. It's a proposal that I can support. And I'm prepared to support that here today to look at where that money comes from and retain some of the money that we just received recently to look at some additional projects. I would also add in supporting, saying I support that because we need to make those improvements on those roads and through our network in order to connect to West Sechelt, is if in fact we are then agreeing to improve our biggest elementary school access to the water, which Sechelt's a water-based community, it makes sense. Then we should also, as the mayor has indicated, approach MOTI or whatever they're called now. I'm hearing ministry changes to look at least to start some additional signage in those areas where there's tight corners to indicate to motorists that there's children that will be crossing that highway. So that's the one thing we should be asking for before we start asking them about pedestrian signalization, which may be a different place to put it. But I think we should ask for signage once we move forward with this. I think it's needed. I think that the work done by staff to put in the funding pieces that I can now support are key. And we should also ask for signage. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Toth, I think, is next.
Thank you, Chair. Recognizing that we've received a number of funding scenarios over the last couple of days, I'd be interested to hear from other members of council which one of those other funding scenarios that they support. Personally, I'm not a big fan of spending DCC funds on this project. You know, we've got Trail Avenue's half done. And the reason it's only half done is because we ran out of DCC funds to be able to finish the project with the escalated budget and costs that we saw. So I think those DCC road funds need to stay in DCC roads in order for us to finish Trail Avenue, which will also enhance pedestrian safety and access into the, in this particular case, the West Corpus Bay neighborhood. So I'm a fan of the original proposal. And that's where I'm leaning. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I appreciate all the work and all the different funding scenarios that are presented, but again, like Alton, I'm in favor of the original resolution. If anything, just all this documentation gives me more support for the project, and I would like to see it done. I don't really know what other projects, if we were to change all the scenarios, what the thinking is behind that. So I think this was just a great opportunity to get the money from the sources that we have and use it for this project, which is a very wonderful, sustainable project. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take a moment to speak for myself. And although you might, by looking at this habitus, be surprised that I actually walk up Mason Road every now and then. I do live very close to, I live on the corner of Norvan and Mason. So I want to assure the mayor that it is definitely more than school children that use that road. We go down to the beach access quite often. And without a proper sidewalk, there's not necessarily enough room for the rolling oxygen that you need for the way up. But I'm being a bit facetious, but it is a well-used path. I'm absolutely, like, we have to finish this project. This is something we've been talking to West Sechelt Community Association about for years. You can see how much work and community support that this project has. So, you know, to that end, I'm not interested in delaying part two at all. Get it done before the price is even going much more or up anymore. It is part of a bigger picture that does more than just connect to schools with the other projects that we've got going. And I'm with Councillor Toth on this. I don't necessarily, I'm not opposed to using some COVID restart money where appropriate, but we have so many uses for DCC roads, I think, that I don't really want to use that money. And a growing communities fund, this feels like the perfect fit for this kind of a project. I mean, I don't love, obviously, that inflation has hit these projects so hard, but we've got to move forward on it. So I'm in favor of the original motion as it stands. And if there was some give, it would be not for using DCC road money. Councillor Bell.
To the chair, I'm also in favor of Councillor Toss' recommendation. The one that I also want to reinforce is Councillor Inkster's comment around moving forward on the signage. We know how long these things take. I think that needs to get started like as soon as possible. And that we get the wheels in motion in terms of what we can do to set up any safety guards as soon as possible. Thank you.
Councillor Shepherd, sorry.
I really do appreciate the chance to the extra time here to reconsider the issues. I think it was, I found it very valuable. I had thought that looking to source the revenue or the cost from different accounts would be helpful, but if I really defer to council if we feel the original resolutions are the best way to proceed. I did like the discussion on the different segments going forward, but I think we've all agreed that we'd like to see the whole contract go forward at this point in time. So I'm in support of the first resolution as well. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yeah, I will. Just make sure. Mr. Mayor Henderson has his hand up.
Thank you, Chair. I think that the essence of why I wanted this reconsidered is about where the money comes from and preserving the flexibility to do the things that we may want to do in the future. So we received late, well, at 1:38 this afternoon, and just in case some of council may not have seen it, I think this, if I get the right one, I can share the summary. I don't know if staff have it, but
Can you screen share?
yeah,
I don't know if he's trying to screen.
I have screen share, but we've got too many. Oh dear, sorry folks. The point is that there is a staff have come back saying that we can take money from well, originally proposed included the local government climate action reserve for $110,000. Because of work with the contractor, we can take $401,000 from the COVID restart funds. And this is funding that if we don't use it on specific, very restricted things related to recovering from COVID, we have no flexibility to just wake up one morning and spend it on something else. The same is true with funds for DCCs for roads. That obviously can only be used for roads. So that's compared with the growing community fund, which is pretty much unrestricted insofar as long as it relates to capital projects and is not funding kind of recurring operating costs. So I think that my point is in all of this for as a first step, we should be availing ourselves of the ability to use the COVID restart funds. And then if we use the what's remaining of about 300 and some odd $1,000, I believe, then we can that could come from the DCC roads, and it would leave us with a healthy balance in that DCC roads fund, 728,000. So I think the key to this is we can use the growing community fund for almost anything. We can't use the DCC roads for something other than roads. And so I think by supporting what staff have provided us as scenario 4 makes a lot of sense for us to do and protect the Growing Communities Fund. Thanks.
Thank you. Counselor Toth.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm really sorry for putting staff on the spot with this, but in looking at scenario 4 that came to us 1:30, the numbers that are there don't add up to 1.01 million. They add up to $860,000. I'm curious what's missing. Thank you.
Yeah. Very good. I didn't see that.
Go ahead, Director Dillon.
Yeah, thank you. This was all a flurry of emails, so I'll have to go through the numbers again. I think we can go through the first 3 scenarios if it's good for a refresher, and in the meantime, we can figure this one out. Thank you.
That's my other question. Would be if we use 350,000 or more from the DCCs, what wouldn't get done next year? Would we have to look at taking something off the work plan?
Thank you for the question to the chair. I would have to look at the list again because I don't have it in front of me, but I'm wondering about inlet and how that project was funded. And for next year, if we, want to look at Trail Avenue Part 2 or something like that. And the other thing to factor is we're going to be going into this DCC bylaw rewrite in the next year or so. So I'll have to come back with information on that. Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
Director Henderson or Mayor Henderson.
Thank you, Dr. Brenda. I don't think any of those things remain possible. That's the real point of why I'm pleased with scenario 4, subject to Councillor Toth's identification that the numbers don't quite add up. We retain the flexibility to do inlet. We reserve the flexibility to do anything because the Growing Community Fund is less restricted than the various DCC funds. So I don't think that we have to worry about whether we can do it. It's because of the broader definition of the Growing Community Fund. But I would like to, I'm guessing without being in the room that somebody is working right now to try and clarify scenario 4 for us.
Thank you. Corporate Officer has her microphone on.
Thank you, Chair Rowe. If I may just provide a point of clarification on the process that's required for today. Per section 131 of the community charter, the mayor's reconsideration requires that the motion that was made, the resolution that was made last week, be read and voted on. As far as deciding on a future path and making a new resolution or a different resolution, that doesn't necessarily have to be a part of this agenda today. We could take time for staff to provide additional information and bring that back for next week, for example.
Thank you. That helps. And Director Dillon.
Yeah, so I just did some calcs on my phone here. So 499, I think, is the number. I don't know what's shown there for DCCs under scenario 4, but yeah, so it'd be to get to the 1,010,000 number, you need to take 110,000 from that climate action fund, the 401 from COVID restart, and then any remainders would come from DCC to bridge that number, but 499, just under 500,000. Thank you.
Councillor Inkster.
So it pulls down the balance then that's left there then, obviously, by $150,000. So I'm assuming, so it's 578. 578? Yeah. Would be the remaining amount. That's what I'm assuming through you to staff.
Okay. First of all, are there any other comments on this?
Yes, sorry, hand up.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I think I agree with the corporate officer. We do need to vote on the motion. That's what reconsideration is about. But part of voting on that is having hopefully a clear path of how we would go forward. And I'm mindful that that staff have expressed some concerns over any further delays. So my goal in this is to have whoops, I'm getting a message. Are you guys still hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting, but I'm not hearing there. I'm not hearing you, but perhaps I am.
You're not hearing us?
Okay, well, I'll keep talking even though I'm not hearing you. Very strange. So the goal of calling the resolution again for voting, but I certainly would like to see us proceed to, after that vote, if it's the will of council to have a different approach, then I would want to see us move on that today, because we do need to get this going. I am in favor of it, as I said at the beginning. So I will certainly, well, I'm in the chair's hands.
Can you hear us now?
Ah, look at that. Now that you speak,
Yeah.
I can hear you, Chair. I
Okay.
can. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so let's start by taking a vote on how do I phrase it, the recommendation from regular council meeting,
The resolution.
April
yes.
26th, resolution. Or do I have to read it out?
No.
If the corporate officer online could, I'm joking, there's no corporate officer online. Okay. Corporate officer, would you like me to read out the resolution?
The
No.
resolution should be read. I'd be happy to do that if you prefer, Madam Chair.
No, I can do it. That council approve additional funding for segment 1 and segment 2, active transportation expansion project in the amount of $1,010,000 with funding to come from $1,010,000 with funding to come from two sources. $110,000 to come from local government climate action program reserve and $900,000 to come from the Growing Communities Fund. And that council authorized the award of the contract for segment 1 active transportation expansion project Mason Road from Highway 1 to 1012 Reeves Road to Macon Construction Limited in the amount of $2,947,690 plus GST. Okay. And seconded by Counselor Inkster. All, we're voting as if we're voting for this resolution, just like it was the first time, right?
Correct.
To be clear. Okay. All in favor of this resolution? So carried. Any opposed? Oh, sorry.
Yes,
Oh, yes, and Mayor Henderson online.
I
and
could,
opposed.
I couldn't see who was voting. Chair.
Counselor Shepherd was opposed. Everybody else was in favor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So that, just to be clear, then, we are not proposing to use any of the funding from the COVID restart monies.
That's correct. Oh, yes. Counselor Inkster.
I mean, clearly council's not budging. Let's move forward.
Okay, that finishes 3.1 then. And we are going to move into closed session. So it's been determined that council meeting be closed to the public as subject matters relate to the following sections 90 of the community charter. Pursuant to sections 90, 1, A, K, and L of the community charter. Do that right? So move. And second, all in favor? Okay. Thank you.